I'd just walk around the neighbourhood and I'd take photos with my iPhone and just look. That was kind of my sort of strange meditation. The unfurling of human chaos, like the amount of filth and mud, and then progressively as people were having to yank out their whole lives onto their footpath, and the mud everywhere. It was viscous and slimy and stinking and incredible, absolutely incredible.
Madeline MF Searle doesn't want anyone to forget the floods that hit her neighbourhood in Melbourne's inner west in October last year.
Victorians are on high alert tonight with huge rainfall totals expected across the state over the next 2 days.
Throughout the afternoon, there's been concern about the Maribyrnong River in the city's west.
As residents went to bed, Melbourne Water's flood modelling was forecasting the river would peak at 2.4 metres, below the major flood level. But by the morning, the river was surging past the major flood level and eventually peaked at 4.2 metres.
This is actually 7 k's from the Melbourne CBD.
It's coming in quickly and it's coming in fast.
We had no prior warning at all. The day before we had 80 staff in here and not a single one of them had any alert or indication that there might be a flood the next morning.
So you hadn't prepared at all?
Hadn't prepared at all.
The water here in Richard Noble's custom PC business was close to 1 metre deep.
A little bit hard to tell because a truck came through along Dynon Road and it created a big bow wave that smashed out a bunch of the windows behind us.
Oh, God, the last one!
And then sent the water pouring through.
How much do you think you lost?
So it works out at about 1.5 million. In terms of stock, it was in the thousands and thousands of components. Then we had robbers trying to break in all the time. They'd come with angle grinders, cut through the steel fence and pull everything to pieces. So that was we had, I think, 12 break-ins over that time.
They're still fighting their insurance company about whether they were covered for flood damage. And they haven't seen any sign of a promised Victorian Government flood recovery grant.
So that's pantry left on that one. We're just waiting now for permission to go back. Yeah. We've packed all our house up and just waiting.
This is our temporary accommodation, has been for now getting on 7 months. Yeah. After being evacuated from Riverview.
He said, "Oh, there's a flood." I said, "What are you talking about? It's not going to happen here." He said, "Well, it is."
Some of these homes at Riverview Retirement Village were built in what used to be a designated flood zone. In 2015, Melbourne Water agreed to remove that flood zoning. This will ensure that all the unit development sites are not affected by the flood overlay, it said in a letter to the Moonee Valley City Council. Les and Lynn were the lucky ones. Only a few inches of water came through their home.
We thought, just a matter of, mopping it up and all that, dry it out. But then they told us, no, you'll have to evacuate.
Today the heavy rains have returned to Melbourne and the Bureau of Meteorology has just issued a flood alert for rivers including the Maribyrnong River here. But 8 months on from those major floods, it still feels so quiet around here. Locals estimate about half the homes in this area have been condemned and so many people still haven't returned. Who do residents blame for what happened?
Melbourne Water, number one.
Why is that?
They've never actually come in and done a full analysis of exactly what happened. They don't know where the floodwater went. They don't know who was in properties or premises.
Melbourne Water is an independent statutory authority that manages the city's waterways and floodplains. It's leading the inquiry into the October flood.
Right, okay. Have you got us in shop?
Earlier this week, the head of Melbourne Water, Nerina Di Lorenzo, held her first media conference since the floods.
How many homes were flooded in October?
Well, today I'm here to talk about I'm really not going to preempt anything else?
Oh, no, I'm
all
not
of those
asking
other
you to preempt.
issues.
It's just a very straightforward question. You're the head of Melbourne Water. Melbourne Water is the lead agency in this. Do you know how many homes were flooded?
I'm here to talk about a very particular topic, and I would like to stick to that.
In total, I asked 9 times, but Nerina Di Lorenzo wouldn't answer. The best guess is the local council's estimate that more than 600 properties were flooded. Nerina Di Lorenzo called the press conference to talk about how Melbourne Water is overhauling its early warning system for floods by handing more responsibility to the Bureau of Meteorology.
So is this an acknowledgement that those flood warning systems in October failed?
What we're saying today is that we are looking to further streamline our processes.
Again, I'm really sorry to come back to it. I just don't feel like I've got a clear answer, and I think residents really do care about this. I guess what I'm asking is, were the warning systems adequate, do you think, or could they have been improved, and should they have been done better?
Well, the warning systems were the best and are the best we have in place.
Well, a warning system would have to give warning. And I got a text at 4:30 in the morning. I got a text at 6:05, neither of which I picked up because I was asleep or settings. And my house was flooded 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. So that's only a couple of hours. They have just so totally let people down. Nobody died on the day, and that is an absolutely amazing fact, given the number of elderly people that had no warning who were dragged out of their beds in the middle of 7 o'clock in the morning. Just hard to imagine.
You're furious, aren't you?
I am livid.
Have you heard how angry residents are?
I've been in the room with residents. I've fronted up to the community meetings, and really we take this to heart. This is really important to us.
So you've heard their anger?
We have heard the need for as squeezing every minute out of the process. We have heard that.
No,
We're
sorry,
listening.
what I'm asking you is, have you heard their anger?
Well, being in the room with them, I've heard. We have all heard.
Melbourne Water's inquiry is due to report back later this year, but it isn't examining the flood warning systems or any of Melbourne Water's flood mitigation work.
Works! Oh, home at last.
Authorities don't know how many people are still displaced, how many homes have been condemned, how many lives disrupted. But this is one of the rare happy endings. After 8 months, Les and Lynn are back home.
This is home sweet home.
Yep.